The Queens of Spice podcast is created for adult audiences only. Our show contains cursing, vulgar content, dark humor, descriptions of sexual acts and desires, and is not suitable for listeners under the age of 18. Some episodes also contain themes which may be triggering for listeners. Please take care of yourself. Deck the halls with nogs of cum. Welcome to the Queens of Spice podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Ragachu. I'm here with my two BFFs, Ash and Jack. Hey, guys.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. Today we are reading a special book called Railed by The Krampus by Dalia Davies.
Thank you, Dalia.
This is part of the Valley of the Old Gods series. It's technically book 3. There's I'm going to call it book 0.5 is the first book. It's called Railed by the Easter Bunny. The second one is Banging the Easter Bunny. Then there's this book, and then Railed by the Bacchanal, and then Railed by the Reaper. And Ash, I know you're not happy with this, but I thought this book had a lot of depth. And the Old Gods series in general that she writes has a whole universe that's kind of fleshed out. And I would say you don't have to read the other books in order to get this book. I know you have some questions, Ash, which we'll talk about. But I would say you could probably just read this book and not have to read the others. But do, because Railing the Easter Bunny is really funny. I thought it was great. So deck the halls with mirth and mischief. When she said she'd sell her soul for a lump of coal on Christmas Eve, Holly wasn't serious. Not really. But the strange shadow that had always lived behind her mirrors doesn't get the joke. Now, Holly is at the mercy of Klaus's bargain until she can bring him 12 increasingly ridiculous gifts. Why are most of them birds? But the creature that lurks in his domain wants something more, something infinitely more delicious. You're just not happy to be here. You have no poker face.
No, I have no chill. I have told several of my clients about this book this week that I had to read it, and I believe one of the comments was, it's like they're not even trying to make it seem like a smutty romance book. That just sounds like straight up porn. And I mean, I will admit there was much more story in this one than the swamp one you talked about last time.
That was straight up erotica.
Yeah.
Erotica. There's no bones about that.
There's probably bones in it.
Yeah, there's a few of them.
Boning.
Boning.
I just...
So let's talk about... So, as I said, Holly is poor, very poor. She's a farmer. She's trained as a midwife with Nan, who doesn't have a real name in this, but she goes by Nan. She's an older lady that lives with them. Her parents have both passed. They're
deceased.
There's going to be... I should go through the trigger warnings in this one, because there's it's as much as a weird kind of fantastical book that this is, there is some really heavy themes in here, I'll say. Yeah, so so
Death.
according to the author, these are the trigger warnings: birching/caning, breeding, death of a parent prior to book mentioned, explicit human/non-human sex, fat shaming and slut shaming, postpartum depression prior to book, suicide prior to book, and use of emergency contraceptives / unconventional family planning, which I think unconventional family planning is potentially one of my favorite content warnings I've ever read. Along with, if you sexy run, I'll sexy chase you.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
I'll also say this too. In the back of this book, if you buy the physical book, I'm not sure, I can't remember if it had it in the
picture?
No, well, that, but there's a spice menu in this book that you can dead ass, it just makes a brief description of what the spice is and then gives you the page number. Or gives you the chapter so you can go look it up.
Yeah, for when you're flicking your bean and you want to read about a specific thing.
I think it's so people, because you always see people tab books, right? And it's here, you don't have to tab the book. I have all the content for you. So it's in the back of the book.
That's really smart.
And there's also expanded trigger warnings too, where it's they actually have the detailed content warning. So it's actually printed in the book. So good on you, Dalia, that you've acknowledged that level of content awareness.
What do they call those things in the back of books?
Index glossary?
Glossary. It's a glossary.
It is a glossary of It's
been a long time
She
since I
calls
read
it
a
a
textbook.
menu, which I appreciate because you're ordering it
Because it's spice.
because it's spice.
Ah!
It's funny. So Holly again. So she's like
She
her parents passed away. Her mother kind of died of postpartum depression after she had her twins. Her twins are Meg and May, who Holly is raising. Basically, they're 5 years old. They don't actually say how old Holly is, but I get the vibe that she's like early to mid 20s. I would say. I don't think she's that old.
Old enough to be railed by Krampus.
I mean, that's a whole different ballgame.
And he's been watching her for a while, so I can respect the fact that he waited until she was older before he railed her.
Well,
I guess.
okay. So one of the things about the old gods. So we'll talk about a little bit of world building here. So
Because you read the books.
right, but I mean, like I've also read this book twice because there are some like nuanced kind of things that are going on in here that like are that potentially the first time through you might not pick up.
Whereas I also forgot that we were supposed to read it and panic read it in a week. I mean, not that it took me a week to read it, but...
So they live in the valley. The valley is surrounded by the Godwoods, and then there's also like a town city kind of center. And so this place is kind of plucked out of Earth proper, and it's based in like almost the late 1800s, early 1900s kind of vibe where it's like they have electricity, but it's not available to everybody sort of thing. And there are some forms of technology, but it's not as nearly as widespread as what you might think. And like the closer you get to the city center where like the tower is, which is where the ruler kind of lives, you get like more technology, more advanced and stuff. And then the further out into the valley you get, which is where Holly lives, it's more farmland and that kind of stuff. And she lives on the edge of the Godwoods, and the Godwoods are where like, you know, the gods hang out basically. And we're talking about the old gods here. So like we're going to get like, it's not going to be as familiar as it might be. And so it is, and I want to say Dalia like makes up a lot of stuff too in this and takes some liberties and stuff like that. So, but it is
Because people really are getting railed by Krampus out there.
I
He
mean,
takes some liberties.
with his penis.
I mean, there's lots of liberties to be had.
So that's kind of the world of it. She is a midwife, and she also, which they don't really explain why, but she can see certain gods.
Okay, so that's not explained.
Right.
Because that bugged me.
Well, they don't really flesh it out, I would say, enough, because they definitely don't even talk about it in the other books. So that's not something you were missing.
Well, I wasn't sure.
Yeah,
and
so-
I'll be honest. One of like my bigger issues, like I made joke about the content, and I'm like, oh my god, I found this book really hard to follow.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had to reread several things several times because I was like, am I just dumbing it up this week, or is this just not as linear as I like? Do you know what I mean?
I do. This is, I would say, there is a lot to this universe, and even having read the other two books, there are still some pieces in this universe that haven't been fleshed out. There are parts of the first two books that might help you understand the structure of the town a little bit better and some of the other gods that are involved here, but I don't think it would help you even understand that much more about this book.
Well, it was even the way the sentences were structured in that, like, I don't want to get into it right now, I guess, because it'll come to it, but like a thing was happening and I was like, why? The God thing, like the fact that she gets like, okay, all of a sudden there's 6 people in the room. Well, where the fucking other 3 people come from? The other 2 people.
So this is the thing too. I want to precursor this book is that the whimsy and the gods and the things that are in this book, you just need to accept.
Oh,
And it's
you're
one
not
of
good at
those kind of,
that.
yeah, I know that's not your vibe, but like there are things that happen in this book you just need to accept that they happened.
I can accept
Yeah.
that they happened. I just would like to know that they're happening as they're happening, opposed to
I
like trying
see.
to figure. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I guess, but like again, the logic, leave your logic at the door to some point because there's not like it's not going to make a lot of sense certain things.
but I would argue that I love when random God shit gets thrown in. I just would like to know, like, instead of being like, I'm in the room and this child is being born, and the 6 people in the room, and I'm like, why are there 6 people? It was not explained, or 5 people or whatever. Why is there 5 people?
Are you talking about? We'll talk about this later.
We're coming back to it.
Okay, that's fine. Well, when we come to it in the story, we'll talk about it
Okay,
because I'm
good.
pretty sure I know what you're talking about. She is basically putting her siblings to bed on Christmas Eve. She's lamenting, and she's been hiding from Nan, especially, kind of the poverty of their situation. And so she like has no money. She is running this farm by herself. She's supporting her 2 siblings and Nan, and she just can't keep up with it. And it's the dead of winter. And so she's like living in abject poverty. And so when she closes her door to her room, for example, she doesn't have any heat. She has like is loading up blankets on her like cot of a bed. And so she's like lamenting at the fire, basically, that she's like, oh God, I would basically sell my soul for some coal right now. And that's when the mirror kind of shifts. And she like I said, she can see gods. And so like this is one that's been following her around for a long time, and it's technically Klaus, which is Santa Claus.
Okay.
And so like her fire basically pops open because again, gods and whimsy. And she follows the path down behind the fireplace, and she comes upon Klaus in his domain. And there's like a big tree, and there's like a big hearth and all this stuff. And you know, it's Klaus's domain. But again, everything is very like dark and whimsy in this. So it's more like, you know, I just picture in this kind of big room that has, you can't see the walls sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? Like that kind of darkness.
Like dark until like all shadow until you're meant to see the thing, because things like melt out of it and melt back into it. Yeah, that's how I picture it.
And things just like kind of appear and disappear.
Yeah.
And it's such a vibe. And so Klaus makes this deal with her. He gives her this box of coal basically. And it's like this huge gold box of coal. And she accepts his terms, and his terms are to bring him 12 gifts, the 12 gifts of Christmas, which are listed in the back of this book.
Which I will admit was clever.
Yes. So, and this is the thing too, because even Dalia in the back of this book, when she has her like author's note, she mentioned that this book kind of got away from her.
Yeah.
In that like she wanted to write succinctly these 12 things, and that was it. But then the story like kind of detoured into this like big love arc with Krampus and stuff. So it ended anyways.
I think she said that she had intended it to be as long as the first book.
Yeah, which again, novella, like it was very short.
Yeah, I mean, it ended up being as long, not as long as, but almost as long as the second book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that too, where she like took the seed of an idea and just like let it go and see what happened. And so like we came up with this book. So basically the story, I guess I'll gloss over some of it because there's a lot of day-to-day detail stuff. But she goes through and collects the 12 pieces of Christmas. But
the end.
Next, you don't want to talk about the next book.
Next time on Queens of Spice podcast, Ashton has a cornea. Cornea. What?
Coronary?
Coronary. Corneas in your eyeball. I've got those.
Nailed it. So, but while she's collecting these things, and I'll go.
Birds.
I mean, a lot of them are birds, and that's kind of the joke, the running gag, as it were.
Gaggle.
The gaggle. Because again, she's a farmer and she does raise her own birds. So the first one was a partridge in a pear tree, and it's like the dead of winter, and she's like, "Where do you get a partridge in a pear tree? What the hell?" And so she wakes up Christmas morning,
and there's a pear tree outside.
Well, not even that, but like the entire house has been decorated for Christmas. There are presents underneath the tree, which wasn't there before. The entire icebox is stocked, and basically what you get at is that Klaus is giving her. I mean, the deal was that she would get everything her heart desires.
Magic.
And so but Klaus has had this like thing for her for a long time, and he watched her for a long time.
Creepy.
A little bit, but we'll get into that one too. And so because of that, he has like rigged this whole thing, because the gods in this universe, if they want something, they have to make a deal with humans. And this is kind of the like, because this happens in some of the other books too. It's like they have to, if they want to interact with humans and bring them into their lives or something, there has to be some sort of bargain or some sort of deal and some sort of like ongoing thing that happens with humans. Like it's not, you can't just go and be like, hey, I want to date you, and then you date them. That's not how gods work. And it's such, anyways.
You can't
it's
just
a very,
date a person. You gotta
date a person.
You gotta trick them into it.
It's such a thing, Ashton. Oh my god. So the first one's a partridge in a pear tree, and so she looks out the window, and all of a sudden there's a tree out back that has turned into a pear tree, and at the top of it is a partridge, not a real one. It's like
a fake one,
a figurine or whatever of a partridge. And so she goes out and picks all the pears and climbs the tree and grabs a partridge and takes it through. Back through any fireplace she uses, she can access to Klaus's domain. And so she takes it back to him. Marks the first one off the list.
Check.
But do you remember when she goes back, it's not Klaus that's there, it's Krampus.
Do I remember? No, I didn't remember that part. I didn't remember that at all.
You didn't commit this to memory?
No.
Okay.
Especially because he was sitting there with his chest hair covering his penis.
Huge penis.
What?
Yeah, which is
There's a drawing. Do you want to see the drawing, Jack?
it's
Yeah.
like a candy cane.
It
only
is,
black
yeah.
and red.
It's like a twisted helix kind of situation.
Also, the things he does. No.
What's wrong, Ashton?
No.
Here you go, Jack. This is a picture of Krampus and his penis. But you see his penis is all like twisted. It's like two penises.
He's black.
It's a hemi penis.
It looks like a unicorn horn.
It does, kind of, doesn't it?
It
Has
does.
a certain je ne sais quoi about it.
I think I might have screenshotted it to send it to somebody, so let me see if I can find it.
Oh, nice.
Because I was freaking out about it.
He has a very long tongue too. I don't know if that came through
There
in that
you go.
picture.
By screenshotting it to show people, she meant to make it as her lock screen. Okay.
Do you want me to zoom in on his dick?
No, I can do it.
She's helping.
What's he drinking?
Eggnog.
He's not drinking anything.
Well, he has a cup.
He doesn't. It's filled with eggnog.
We're
We're getting there.
where are his heads?
Of his penises?
Yeah.
Oh, they're in
Oh,
there.
they actually are two penises?
Yeah.
They unwind.
They unwind. They become two.
Oh,
Is that upsetting?
yeah.
Oh, really? I thought it was hot. Okay. So day 2. So when she goes in there, Krampus is there, and she's like, "Hey, I got this partridge for Klaus. Can you give it to him?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." And he like throws it up. It goes and hangs out in the tree, turns into a real partridge. And then they have a chit chat, whatever, and away she goes.
I don't know if I trust this guy.
Okay, you shouldn't. Day 2
Shouldn't trust any of them.
was 2 turtle doves. This one, she got a hint about where they were, which
Yeah.
was Gren. I think it was Gren's domain. Yeah, Gren, the god, one of the goddesses. One of the gods, because I don't think Gren is a gender. There's a lot of gods in this that don't have genders. / you should never concern yourself with gender in this, because the gods and everyone adjacent to the gods, they're whatever gender they feel like that day. Especially because when we get into Klaus's parentage too,
Yeah.
that's a weird one, because it's like he has 2 parents, but both of them are female, but one of them is female when they feel like it, and then sometimes they're a male, and sometimes they're neither. So anyway, it's very confusing in that regard. But like once you, I think, get into
That
it a
was
bit,
more
you're like, oh, okay.
straightforward to me than the part that I was trying to explain to you.
Okay, so the 2 turtle doves. So she goes into Gren's domain, which is like
Hot and sweaty.
it's like a
Grotto.
Yeah, it's a grotto, because there's a big spire in the middle of town where she has to go, and the spire it gives access to God's domains,
Grotto.
depending on if you're supposed to be there or not.
Grotto.
That's the word you're looking for, grotto. And so when she goes to this grotto, it's filled with cats. Meow. And she meets Calico. And Calico is a very helpful, friendly cat person.
Is Calico in the first book?
Yep.
Is Calico a calico?
Yes.
Okay.
Calico is from the first book.
Who's the other cat?
Minx.
The leather cat?
Other cat.
Minx.
Oh.
Is the other cat in the first book?
Yes, I think so.
Is Minx a minx?
Minx is a cat
Minx
half
is,
the time.
I think Minx is a black cat. I think. I can't remember.
All I remember is she carried a fucking net in her mouth.
She carried in that. It's so cute.
Yeah, adorable.
I love it.
Sex happening everywhere. Cat's got a net in its mouth.
So
Hot and sweaty grotto.
So
What
Calico.
kind of net? Like a butterfly net?
Okay, so
no, Rachel's gonna
I'm
explain
going to
it.
explain it.
Oh.
It's a net for catching birds.
Sorry, okay.
Or doves, as this case may be.
I
So
pitched a fishing net.
a fishing net.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, turtles, doves, same.
Yeah.
What I will say about this is that the gods and all of their followers
Are fucked.
loved chaos. And they love shit going weird. Like, they're all about it. They love weirdness and oddness and
Which
whatever.
is why Rachel loved this book.
Oh God, I love it. Yeah, okay, totally makes sense. So Calico, Gren is very interested in what Klaus is up to, and so because Holly's like, "Why are you helping me?" Because Calico is like, "Oh, sure, here they are, right here." And then look, one of my friends brought you a net here to catch them. Like everyone's very helpful, and she's like, "Why are you helping me?" And she's just like, "I mean, Gren's really interested in what Krampus is or what Klaus is up to. Very curious because Klaus has never had a human bargain in his domain. He's never had a human in his domain. Like that's just not a thing. And so they're like, why is Klaus? What is he doing?
What
It's
are
so
the elves
weird.
then? Are the elves not human?
The elves are elves.
I thought they were his followers.
They are.
Do they make toys?
But again,
No, they're
because
horny.
there's things that you just need to accept again, where it's like if they are humans, cool, but they are considered elves because they're his followers and they're elves. And so if Holly became his follower, she'd become an elf.
What about
Cool.
the reindeer? Are they elves?
Reindeers are reindeer.
Okay.
So kind of like, never mind. I'm not going to say that. That's horrible.
Vicious.
So
So she
she's
gets,
something with the Catholic Church.
God.
And
So she catches the turtle doves. She brings them back to Krampus.
I like that part where they were turning into doves and then turtles and then
Yes,
doves again.
they kept switching back and forth.
Because we didn't know if they were supposed to be turtles or
That's
doves.
right. Yeah. This is like it's such a weird.
It's clever.
It's
It
very
was
weird.
clever. Look, I can admit when a thing is interesting or neat. I can do that.
We know.
So,
Okay,
so she
good.
takes those back to Krampus. He lets them go up into the tree or whatever, and they have a conversation. She leaves.
Christmas tree.
Day 3 is 3 fat hens. And she's like, oh, I have hens, and we'll see. You know, they're probably skinny, but whatever. I mean, what's fat, really? What is it supposed to be?
Me.
And,
Me
then-
in hen
she
form.
Goes, so she, Jesus. Bok, bok, motherfucker. So she goes out to her barn later that day. And I think it's after she went to see Susan or something. At one point, she goes to see Susan, and Susan's like, I'm pregnant, by the way, and you're going to have to, like, you know, give birth to this child for me. Help me give birth.
I'm pregnant.
Well,
You're
she's-
giving birth to my child.
Oh, that comes later. So that's the family planning.
No wonder people want to be midwives.
So, Jesus.
Be my midwife, birth my child.
So because she's a midwife, and
Yeah.
she but she in her head, she's like, "There's no way I'm doing that. I can't deliver babies anymore. I just can't do it."
Because she can see God.
She can see gods. So it comes. We'll talk about that. It becomes complicated for her later. So she goes into her barn to look at her hens, and all of a sudden, there's 3 incredibly fat hens there that were not there yesterday.
Yeah, I was at home in
And
bed.
she was like, "Okay, I guess they're just okay. Grab those hens, take them to Krampus. Do they get delivered?" I think in this time she takes. No, it is Krampus because he eats them immediately.
Yeah. Nom nom.
Yeah. And so, done like dinner. The next day is 5 gold rings.
No, you missed the cuckoos.
Did I? Oh, no, 4 calling birds. You're right. So the cuckoo clocks. So calling birds, this is when she goes over and talks to her
Yes.
BFF Susan.
My BFF Susan.
You know, my BFF Susan.
And
And
her
Susan,
husband.
And her husband. Yeah, her husband's great, actually. He's a good guy. He...
The note. Susan, her BFF, her husband John, kids Tallulah, and
Yeah, they
blank.
don't say what her son's name is.
Oh.
I was left it blank. I left it there to fill it in later, and they never said what it was. I'm like,
Oh.
what the fuck? What's her son's name?
Tallulah.
Tallulah?
Tallulah's a good name.
That was my friend's dog's name. I don't know if Tallulah's still alive.
In our hearts, they are.
I should check.
So Susan tells her this story about the cuckoo clocks, and how they were gifted as part of a treaty or something to the valley. And there's 4 of them in the valley that they know of. And I can't remember the nuance of that story, but it has something to do with one of Klaus's mothers.
Esther.
Yeah.
And it was like
That's Klaus's mother.
Yeah, the first godparent bargain has something to do with that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I honestly can't remember because it's very nuanced, whatever it was.
I finished the book this morning.
I
I'm
appreciate
fairly
that.
certain I'm accurate.
Listen, I had to read 3 little books between this one and
Listen.
so it's been a
You're the
minute.
one who tasked Jackal
Yeah.
with picking a book.
Spoilers. So she collects these 4 cuckoo clocks and brings them to Klaus.
Mm-hmm.
And they get put up on the walls with the other cuckoo clocks. I think there's 24 of them in total.
25.
And she, has to make some bargains or whatever and call in some favors in order to get those. But she ends up with them.
5 and 20.
Oh, yeah, you're right. 5 and 20. Good point. Thank you.
Because I
Ash.
sat there going,
Good
like,
memory.
how many is that?
What's 5 and 20?
I was like, 5 times 20. That's a lot of clocks.
Why are they making you do math in this book?
And I remembered that's an old way of saying 25.
Yep. Yep, it is.
5 and 20. She's just a girl of 5 and 20.
So the next day are the 5 gold rings.
Yeah.
And
But what is a ring?
But what's
really?
a ring really? Does it matter?
It's
Like,
just
what
a
is
circle.
it? And so this is the day that she wakes up to, because originally she has a hope chest in her home, and she's like, oh, I have 5 rings in there, but like maybe I'll go try and bargain and try to find other rings because those are family heirlooms.
Well, she wants to sell the box that Klaus gave her, but then it's gone. And this is when
because
you
it has
start-
gold foil wrapping on it.
Yeah, and this is where you kind of realize like how much he's just fucking with her. Like,
It's such a, yeah, this whole thing is very tailored in a lot of ways.
Yes.
And so, so interrupting her day, she gets like frantic knock at the door or whatever. And it's one of the other people in the valley. His wife is like giving birth right now. And like, there's nobody to help her give birth. There's no midwives. There's no doctors. There's nothing. He's panicking, like, asking her to do this. And so
Retta.
Pardon me?
Her name was Retta.
Yes, you're right.
Yay, I'm smart.
And then so she goes off to deliver that child. And so when she goes off here, this is where you kind of get the insight of why she doesn't want to be a midwife anymore.
And this is where I got annoyed.
Okay.
This is the spot.
All right, let's talk about it. So she goes in to deliver this child, and beside her is Death, and on the other side is
The Tooth Fairy.
The Tooth Fairy.
But they don't fucking say that. They just state that there's this many people in the room, and then later you find out, like moments later, you find out that it's the Tooth Fairy and it's Death. And to me, it was a very backwards way of telling people that she saw gods, and I fucking struggled with it. Maybe I'm a fucking idiot, but I found it very difficult to follow. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Why are there more people in the room? It was just him. He went to get her. That's 3. Where did the 2 extra people come from? Why is it? They're not even fucking people. They're not even fucking there. And I was just annoyed by the execution. And I was like,
And admittedly, like, down the road further, like, when she starts talking to Klaus and Krampus about it, it does come through in her monologue, like her inner monologue about seeing death and being there. And so like this is where we get to like kind of the reason of why she doesn't want to be a midwife is because death comes for the mother.
Yeah.
And the Tooth Fairy comes for the child.
Nobody protects the mother.
And no one protects the mother because the Tooth Fairy is there to put a protection on the child when they're born. And Klaus, for example, can't see children. All they see is colors.
Yep.
So either good for green or bad for red. And all they see is lights and colors of these kids because they can look through their baubles in their tree and see the world.
And he doesn't see people until their wisdom teeth come in.
Correct.
And I thought all of that was very interesting, and I liked the fact that she could see death. And I just needed to know differently, and I needed to know more. And that I think was why I struggled with it so much, because I was like, what? Like, I'm all for that piece of information. I love that piece of information. That piece of information made me like the book more. I just wish it had
the delivery.
The delivery. I struggle, and it wasn't the first thing in this book or the last thing in this book that like didn't make sense in a linear capacity. And I wasn't sure if the author had done it in a way that was like trying to surprise you, but like without like drawing it out. But it was like swing and a miss.
I can appreciate that. Because, like, and again, I read this book through twice, obviously.
Yeah.
Mind you, the first time I read it was like a year and a half ago or so. Like, it was over a year ago. But I will say, reading it the second time, it was much easier to make sense of things. And I
knew what happened.
Well, there's that. But, like, I also, like, had all that nuance. Because when you read through this entire book, the nuance that is there, again, it's in a non-linear fashion. And so I already had enough to fill in all the gaps on the second way through. Yeah,
to me it took away from the whimsy. I liked the whimsy of the book. To me, this just like if I have to trip over information or trip over my way to get information, it's kind of like when you're reading a book and all of a sudden they use the wrong there, or like
it takes you out of it.
Do you know what I mean? Or like, or in some, I mean, fan fiction happens sometimes where you read like, and then the tenses change and you're like, wait, what just happened? I'm so confused.
It's jarring.
Yeah, it was just too much of a, and then I was like, am I reading this too fast? Did I like skip over information? And I hate having to go back and read through shit, especially when I'm like, no, I definitely read that accurate the first time. Maybe I should read it a 4th time just to make sure I read it correctly. I'm like, I just wasted time reading the same fucking paragraph 6 times when I was right the first time, and it didn't make sense any of the 6 times I read it. Anyway.
That's valid. Your opinion is valid, Ashton.
Thanks for, validating my
of course
validness.
So she sees, so as she's delivering the kid, she sees death, she sees the Tooth Fairy. And this is where you get the insight again of like why she is a midwife, but why she doesn't want to be. She has this history with her parents, like her father had taken his own life after her mother passed away, of like complications. And it's like no one was ever there for her mother, and she was too young to like deal with anything at the time. And so there's like this whole background trauma
and
thing
she
going
even
on.
says to the guy like, I will do this, but I'm here for Retta. I'm not here for the baby. And he's like, I don't care. That part did resonate with me a bit, because when I had my son, I had a doula. And the doula, like my son's father was present, but then I also had the doula. And when, because I had a C-section, they're like, well, you can't have two support people. I was like, no. Father is here for baby. Doula is here for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that, like, it's not that I thought I was going to die, but like
The kid will be
my
looked
kid,
after.
yeah, my kid had a support and I knew he was going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, if I panic or whatever,
When you panic.
And I did,
Yeah.
vomited everywhere.
Surprise.
When I spiral, I don't have to worry about somebody focusing all of their attention on me. I know, or like taking attention away from the newborn in the situation to try and pay attention to me. I had somebody there for me because, so that I got, not that the doula is going to like save me if I, whatever, but
no, but like you know that there's somebody you can rely on if you have to. Yeah.
which was, again, I like resonated with that.
So because she has to go off and do this and she gets home late, she doesn't have time to go suss out what else to do about rings. So she goes into her hope chest and grabs her 4 rings that are supposed to be passed down to her family. She thought there was 5. There's only 4. But what is a ring? She grabs a gold bangle and being like, it's circular connection. That's what it is. Whatever. And takes them off to Klaus.
Can I just say that this reminds me of Rumpelstiltskin?
Yeah, that's fair.
'Kay.
There's definitely a Rumpelstiltskin vibe here.
Rumble
Okay.
foreskin.
Rumple foreskin. Oh, well, if I haven't read that yet, I'm going to go find it.
Is it an actual thing?
Probably. It is now. You
If
put
it's
it in-
not, Rachel's going to write it.
I have a lot of time in my hands coming up. When she takes the rings to, I believe it's Krampus this time. She takes the rings too.
Yeah, because he birches her.
So,
Doesn't she blow him before this, though?
man, the timeline's all kind of wonky because it's a lot that happens.
They've already done
I
something
feel like
sexual
it's after
prior
this
to.
though. I don't know if they have.
Yeah, because he birches her and she gets off on it.
I don't remember.
Where's the eggnog come in?
Isn't it obvious that she can see gods? Krampus and Klaus gods?
Yeah.
But she's in their realm,
Yeah.
so she can see them.
So
'cause-
when they are watching her in her realm, they're watching through mirrors, and so all she sees is a bit of a shadow, but she doesn't know someone's watching her. She's just like always seen shadows in mirrors, and so but she's never mentioned it to anyone. She's like, I don't want anyone to think I'm fucking crazy, because this again is like almost the 1900s, where it's like people will think you're batshit insane.
Okay.
I mean, not that people would be any more accepting to today's day and age. I see God. Sure,
Probably
you
less,
do.
actually.
Right?
I will
Do
say
you
though,
speak in tongues as well?
she does explain this to Susan at one point, and Susan is very accepting of what's going on.
Yes.
And she alludes to it with Nan, but doesn't
Nan
tell
knows.
Nan. Nan knows because she's old and wise. But Nan is just like, she's very trusting, and she's like,
Nan's trusting?
yeah, she's like, I hope you know what you're doing.
Oh, she trusts her.
She trusts her, not the
Yeah,
gods.
not
Oh,
the gods.
she does not trust the gods.
gods.
Most people don't. Most people, because the gods view humans as pawns and act as such. In this instance, for example, it's like she's just being a pawn to them. That's all that's going on here.
She's being a pawn.
Well, she's being something. So she brings his rings back to Krampus, and he's like, one of these is not a ring. This is 4 rings, not 5 rings. And she's like,
What is a ring?
what's a ring, really? And
It's
he's
a
like,
circle, a beginning and end.
so what he does, instead of forfeiting the contract, because that's what should have done, he shrinks down the ring and he puts it on her finger.
And she can't take it
And
off.
she can't take it off. I should mention too, because I think in the original, like way back at the beginning of the book, when
Way back.
They
Because this
get-
book is so long.
I mean, it's like 170 pages. So that first morning, the Christmas morning, when she opens the gifts, there's a necklace in it for her.
Snowflake necklace.
It's a snowflake necklace, and Calico calls her Snowflake for that reason, because it marks her as like kind of a property of Klaus almost.
When does
or
she
people
get the
read at
snow
it?
globe?
I love snow
The-
globes.
Oh,
Okay.
I think actually it's after this, because I think that's his apology for birching her. Anyway, so she shrinks the rings down. So he shrinks the bangle down to the ring and puts it on her
Yeah.
finger. And because she fucked up, though, he has to punish her. So he,
Spanked.
yeah, so he spanks her, but with birch rods, because that's a Krampus thing. He always carries the rods around.
Okay.
You just want to yell spank.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Splat!
Splat. Spank. And so I think that's
Splank
I'm
splat.
pretty sure it's at this part where she's like, I want to rail this guy because that's really hot. I'm into this. And he's like, nope. And I think this is when he sends her another present.
Does she blow him? Because she knows it's the shape of his penis.
Yeah, it's got to be in here somewhere. I'm like, again, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in this book. Like, it's very packed for being so short. So I get the timeline mixed up sometimes. But she does blow him at one point.
You're very obsessed with her blowing
Well,
him.
okay, the reason that Ashton is obsessed with her blowing him
It's the eggnog.
is because Ashton hates eggnog.
I also hate eggnog.
Smegnog.
And
Smegnog.
nobody likes that, Ash. Nobody liked that.
That was amazing.
But it comes out his dick, so it's kind of like Smegnog.
I
You're
think
gonna
I'm pretty
throw
sure
up.
Krampus is circumcised, so I don't think he has to worry too much about smegma, especially not smegma.
And his dick.
Well,
Go on.
didn't you show me a picture of his dick
wound together. Yeah, there's
wound, like
Oh,
two
but
dicks
they-
wound together? So there's totally a chance of
Yeah.
smegma
it's like
in amongst there.
it's like toe jam.
Yeah, it's like a twisted hair. Like you're totally gonna get smegma all up in there.
Okay. I'll concede that one.
I bet you he doesn't untangle them when he has a shower.
He has several baths in this, actually.
That doesn't mean
And
he
it doesn't
untangles
untangle.
them.
I mean, I don't want to put words in his mouth. Maybe
Oh,
they do. I don't know.
dudes, you gotta untangle your penis first, okay?
Always untangle your penis before you shower.
But they talk about the taste of the penis before the taste of the cum because the penis tastes like warm and gingerbready. And when Rachel was like, "Ooh, yum," and I was
And
like,
then it is. But he also says when she's blowing him, he's like, if you're gonna do this, you need to swallow every drop, and that's why he's got the glass of eggnog in his hand.
"What did I say?" In several fucking podcasts now about Rachel and cum feeding.
Literally is obsessed.
Rachel and cum feeding.
I knew a million miles away you were gonna bring this up.
Well,
I
of
knew it.
course. It's literally the last 12 books we've done. They must.
That Rachel chose, not that Ashton chose.
Incidentally, it has no repercussions in this. He's just like, it's a threat for him. It's a power play. That's the
That matters?
Like
I
he's
guess.
threatening you with eggnog.
Yeah, but like the centaur ones is like she had to like get nourishment or whatever, and like Fire Seed, it quelled the demon inside of her. There was a purpose behind it. There's no purpose in this.
Oh, the
Ownership.
purpose of this is just to enjoy some cumnog.
It's just to enjoy some eggnog. Anyway, so that's
Cum
why.
nog.
Well, it's okay. Wait,
Deck the halls with nogs of cum.
Why does he have a glass of his cumnog?
Because she
comes
has to
in
drink
it.
it all.
She's blowing him, gets a little bit in her tongue, and then he fills the cup and makes her drink it. Again, Rachel and her cum feeding fucking thing.
Did he not like trust her to take it?
It was just
right
too
from
much.
the source.
It was too much.
It was just too much.
Yeah, she started choking on it and she
Oh.
couldn't finish it all. So she.
He's-
Oh, I wouldn't want cumnog coming out my nose. Oh, imagine that cinnamon burn.
Oh, that would burn. Because it's also thick.
thick.
Yeah.
It would be like snot nog cum.
Okay. Rachel, like, bleh.
Oh, like mucusy eggnog.
Okay. Oh. Do you know what it reminds me of? Like the actual consistency of eggs.
Oh, like snotty. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Oh, like the egg white where
yes.
like
That's when you say snotty eggnog, that's exactly what I picture.
it is because it doesn't like separate.
Okay.
It's like attached.
Listen, this is all you guys.
Ooh.
I'm just here for a good time.
Yeah. Again, challenge, Rachel. Pick a book without cum feeding.
I'll try really hard, but don't like hold
This
me
is
back.
quite literally cum feeding. 3 books now, cum feeding.
He literally puts it in a glass.
Yeah.
A goblet, maybe even, is it? Or is it a wine glass?
Okay, sorry. So the other 2, it was for necessity. For this one, he's just coming in the glass. So
it's
like
just for pure pleasure.
ownership.
Yeah, it's about ownership.
Yeah, and that's
power
why
play.
she likes it
Yeah.
because it's about ownership and marketing, which is the only reason she likes breeding. kids.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's almost like I know you.
So
Yes. So
he at one point gifts her
a snow globe
a snow globe that
of
is-
his dick.
That is like a blown glass of his dick.
I love snow globes? Quote Jacqueline.
Wait. Okay, so like the glass part is his dick?
It's shaped like his dick.
Okay.
But it's a snow globe, so it's on the inside. There's like little flakies and stuff.
So does it have like cumnog inside
No,
to shake around?
does not.
So what's inside besides
Just like snow, like water and
Like a snow globe.
snowflakes. Yeah.
But like snow globes have like sometimes like a little scene,
Oh, a scene?
in there.
I don't think there's a scene in this one.
Okay.
think-
No, a
just snow.
scene is had with it.
There's semen.
Oh. She has sex with the snow globe?
Oh, it's a dildo.
Oh, well you didn't say that.
Snow
Are
globes.
snow globes dildos? I don't think.
Gosh, anything's a dildo. Oh, this is where. Okay, all I can picture right now is that
Gosh,
paramedic on
shit.
TikTok shaking his head.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
No.
because it's glass.
Yeah.
The thing broke when she threw it. Therefore, it's not safe to shove in your vagina.
I mean, I will say though, because I had a glass toy once and did drop it on porcelain, and it did break. It didn't like shatter, but it broke. So like, yeah, when you hit those things wrong, they're gonna break no matter what. But
Hit
they are
them
technically
wrong.
body safe. So like, if you throw something on concrete, it's gonna fucking break. Like,
well, it didn't say that she smashed it on concrete. She just tossed the thing.
I mean, anyway, you get my point though. It's like I don't see correlation on that one.
Klaus fucked her with it, is what Rachel's getting at.
Correct. Claus was like, you gave Krampus some fuckings, so you need to let me do some fuckings.
If you give it to him, you have to give it to me. And this is where you start to see how, like, Krampus might be the nice guy and Klaus might be the not so nice
Claus
guy.
is a bit of an asshole, perhaps, and Krampus is kind of not. At least with Holly, he has a soft spot for Holly. You do,
Or a hard spot.
well, he definitely is a hard spot for her. So next day is 6 geese a laying, and this is where things get a little dodgy.
This is where.
Well, it
not
gets-
coming in a glass
No.
and making her drink it all. This is where things get dodgy.
I mean, per the list, not per the story. Because up until here, it's been fairly easy.
I don't know, that fake ring might fuck her over later.
So,
that's the thing, yeah.
well, this is the thing. So 6 geese a laying. She has geese in her barn. It's just that they're not, like, they don't lay eggs in the winter. They lay in the spring.
Because they're,
Because that's when geese lay eggs.
yeah.
What? Really?
Fuck geese. I hate geese so much.
They're not Canadian.
No, ganders are horrible. I got chased by a gander as a kid. I'm fucking terrified. This is why I'm terrified of birds.
All
My
birds?
Yes.
Wild.
You've never seen me freak out about a pigeon?
Not really.
Pigeons are fucking terrifying, though.
My grandparents had a gander, and it fucking chased me. They're vicious. They're angry. Swans, geese, Canadian geese, they're all horrible.
You should chase them back. Fuck them.
No! They're related to velociraptors. I'm not chasing those fuckers.
Coward. Okay, so
Crows are amazing, though.
6 geese a laying. So she's like, okay, well, what do I got to do here? Because I need it to be spring. I need these geese to be laying.
Is there
And-
like a time limit on how?
Yes, it's
Okay.
every
day.
day. You have, she's like 24
Oh,
hours basically.
It's
She
the
just
12
has
days
the
of
12.
Christmas.
Oh.
Yeah, it's 12 days.
Makes sense.
So she ends up going to speak to Esther, who is the goddess of spring. And she's one of the oldest. Yeah, she's Krampus's mother. She's one of the oldest goddesses or gods. And so, or the first god, I think, is how they describe her. But anyway, she is in the first book because she is also the mother of the Easter Bunny, which makes sense.
Who is Klaus's brother.
Yeah, Klaus's brother. So she makes a deal with Esther because she needs these geese to be spring geese, not winter geese.
Pregnant.
Pregnant.
But geese don't
And-
get pregnant.
Well, they carry eggs or whatever. They're going to lay eggs, so I guess technically that's a pregnancy of some sort. Esther takes the deal, and she says in return she wants Klaus's hat.
Hee hee.
And she's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, sure, that shouldn't be hard." And they carry on. And she's like, "I need it on it's 6 days from now, or the 6th morning,
The final day.
the final, which is basically the 12, like the last day in the morning." And so it would correlate with the day she finishes this quest for Klaus.
Yeah, like the next day.
This'll go well.
At sunrise.
At sunrise. So bam, her geese are of laying, and she brings them to Klaus.
Of laying.
And she tells him, she's like, "Oh yeah, geese don't lay eggs until the spring, right?" And he's like, "Oh, I had no idea. You should have told me something." And she's like, "Oh, well, I didn't." And he's like, "Okay, carry on." And she doesn't like really tell him about the deal she made with Esther.
Oh, I thought she did.
No, but this is where he goes down on her. If Klaus specifically goes down on her, she tries to take his hat,
Yes.
and he freaks out.
I did like how his breath was always cold.
Yeah,
I was like,
mean,
could you sleep in bed with me and just breathe on the back of my neck? That would be nice.
That would be amazing. Also, temperature plague. I love it.
I mean, not for that reason. I just
Eh.
mean because it'd be comfortable. Could you just breathe in my room a whole bunch? Thanks.
Thanks. Just like
I'm gonna,
pocket air
I'm gonna
conditioning.
snuggle in my blanket, my big heavy blanket, and you can just breathe. Yeah, breathe. Yeah, okay, cool.
Breathe harder, daddy.
Breathe for me, daddy.
So that's when you find out that like Klaus is very protective of his hat. So she has to come up with this other way to kind of get his hat from her for Esther.
He's protective.
He's very protective. He doesn't say why per se, and neither does Krampus. But Krampus also mentions at one point that like that's Klaus's hat. You can't have it. Like, you can't make a deal for that. Like, it's not an option. So she's like, well, I guess I have to deal with the consequences of that then. So the next one is
She's not very smart, is she?
she is very whelmed, is how I'll phrase it, because she's raising two girls.
Oh, overwhelmed.
Yeah. There's a lot of whelm. She's raising the two girls. She has a lot on her shoulders. This is like her last ditch effort in order to not have to send her daughters away, or her sisters away, basically.
Right.
To like be raised in a fucking orphanage because she can't
Or marry that guy,
Or
Vander.
marry some fucking guy who's an asshole. He's like, I'll send your sisters away. And she's like, was that a joke? And he's like, no.
Ha I'm
Hilarious.
funny.
So the next day is 7 swans a swimming, and she ends up. She gets a hint about where the swans are.
And they were dead.
They were undead.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Zombie swans.
Yeah, zombie swan.
That sounds
Swan.
wonderful.
They're in Heim's domain, who is like kind of the god of winter, goddess of winter. Again with the gender. Don't worry about it.
Klaus's father.
Yes, parent. Because they have no gender. They have all the genders.
But she is the one that they consider his father.
Yes. He goes outside to be like, okay, well, I got to go to Heim's domain and figure this out where these swans are.
I couldn't find anything on Heim. I was like, who is Heim? Because all I thought was Heimdall.
Yeah. Again, the old gods are like, when I say like you have to take this all with a grain of salt, is that like she did a lot of world building here based on kind of the old gods, kind of.
Okay, because like Esther is.
Yes, but it's not. It's spelled different.
It's
Estra or Estros.
Estros.
It's a little bit different. It's all like kind of based on the things, but like it's a little bit
I was expecting like
off.
American Godsy, and then I was getting
Oh, okay.
Red Shoe Diaries version.
That's hilarious.
Where's David Duchovny?
Where is he?
He can explain it to him.
Yeah, Heim also. So Heim makes a big appearance in the previous book
Oh, okay. Again, information
as
I
a
don't
man,
have.
which is very interesting because again, like just because they're in the previous book doesn't mean they
Loki.
show up in this one in the same way.
Loki.
Yeah, like it's all over the place.
Yeah.
But they're all trickster gods. Every single one of them is.
That's
none of them are straightforward.
Have you seen that web thing? I don't know. It's like Loki and Thor, and they're laying in the grass, and Loki's like, "I'm a girl now," and Thor's like, "Cool," and he's like, "I'm a boy now," and he's like, "Yep." And he's like, "I'm neither." He goes, "Yeah, that's awesome." And it's just the two of them doing it. And he's just like, Thor's just like, "Yeah."
That's so wholesome.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing. I can't believe you haven't seen it. Next time I stumble across it, I'll save it and send
Acceptance.
it to you. It's
I love
adorable. It's and like the art is like really like wholesome and cute.
That's
it's really
so cute.
adorable.
I love that.
I'm neither. I'm both. Yep.
So when she goes to leave her house, there's a sledge outside with a reindeer, which is really weird because reindeer generally don't show up after Christmas. They're nowhere to be found. And so like the neighbors are all like, what the fuck is going on? Why is there fucking reindeer? And so this is where everyone's like, something is afoot. Like there's some shit going on. And so the reindeer like loads up in the sledge and away they go. Like off, like the reindeer just knows where to go.
A sledge is a sled, right?
Yeah. It's a sled that has like runners instead of wheels.
Sled?
Yeah. Like
What sled has wheels?
well, like, okay, sorry. It's a wagon.
rolled up in the sled.
It's a wagon that has runners instead of wheels.
Okay.
But it's big, like it's a big, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not,
Like
because a wagon, like a
Claws.
sled is small, so a sledge
Sleigh.
is big. Yeah. It's very,
A sleigh ride.
very much so.
It's
Yeah.
lovely weather for a sleigh ride together.
Wait, those have wheels, don't they?
Sleigh?
No?
Well, you're thinking about like sleigh ride with the horses, yeah. But
Oh.
like Claus's sleigh is pulled by
Reindeer.
reindeer, and he has the big runners.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's because he flies.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's also, they have those for snow too. Like, because everything's covered in snow here.
Yeah, that's where I was getting at. because it's lovely leather for a sleigh ride together with your reindeer.
But now it's a sledge ride together?
Apparently, yeah.
Now it is.
All right.
So the reindeer takes them off to this part of the Godwoods that's right outside of Haim's domain.
Haim and
And-
his wife, her wife.
Girlfriend? Wife? Are they married?
I don't know. Ariadne?
Ariana Grande? What?
Ariande is her name.
Ariadne.
And so Holly is like, comes upon them. And like, well, the reindeer stops and like,
Rolled
get out,
up on
bitch.
them.
She rolls up on him. Well, she's hiding behind a tree, like watching them because they're like hanging out in. It's like there's like a river, and then there's kind of like an area of like with a
And
cave
one of
and
them's
stuff.
nude.
Yeah, Arianda's nude, I think, or the other one is. I think the god is Haim.
Who knows? People are naked.
There's naked people, and then they like start getting kind of frisky, and then she's like, "Oh shit!" and then like goes to hide behind the tree because she was peeking at them, and that's when Haim's like, "All right, come out. What do you want?"
She beacon.
And she tells them that she needs the geese because the geese are in the cave behind them.
Why are there just undead geese?
You need
Whimsy, okay?
You
Whim-
need to
I get
accept.
whimsy.
You just
I'm
need to
accepting the
accept
whimsy.
whatever is going on.
Damn.
Because they died and then came back to life. It's
They're
not
frozen.
that difficult.
Well, they're like anyway. Oh God.
I'm just joking. Of course it's fucking stupid and crazy.
Vicious things.
I can't wait until Rachel's is doing her editing, and then my laugh just goes.
All the spikies.
Spikes!
So Ariande is actually the one. She is in one of the other books. No, she's in the bunny book, but
She's in the bunny book.
well, here's what you need to realize too is that the timeline amongst all of these books is very fucking timey-wimey, wibbly wobbly. Like it's all over the place. The timeline, like fucking forget about time.
Okay,
Doesn't
David
exist.
Tennant.
Yeah, right. Ariande is the one who's like, give her the swans, because Haim's like, go fuck yourself, and she's like, well, it's for Klaus, and he's like, definitely go fuck yourself, that little brat. What's he up to? And then Ariande is less like,
What's he up to?
she's like, you're gonna take this one. It's okay. Take this one.
The only person who can fuck themselves here, Haim, is you.
yeah, basically. And so she gathers the swans, takes them back, and puts them in the sledge, and then goes off to this abandoned. It's like an abandoned.
It's where her dad.
It's where her dad offed himself. It was an abandoned cabin out in the woods. that
Trigger
has-
warning,
Trigger warning.
suicide.
I said at the top of the podcast that
Top of the morning to you.
top of the morning. And
Offed himself.
and so in that burned out cabin there is a fireplace, and so any fireplace she can access, she can get to Claus's domain.
Right.
And
It's
so
like the flu network.
it is. It's not. It's
Jesus
lovely.
Christ.
That's really what it is. Except you just open the door and you walk in because there's like neon lights and shit. It's really cool.
So she doesn't have to speak very clearly.
No, not
And
at
so
all.
she won't go astray.
Diagonally.
Diagonally.
So
What'd you
she,
say?
so she leads the geese down, and geese, whatever, they go up into the tree, and away they go. Then we have 8 cocks crowing. This is where she needs to like make some deals. And so she has to like not bribe, but she has to go to the neighbors basically, because she has like I think 2, and she gets 6 from Susan's husband's mother has the other 6,
And he has to promise to name their child after her.
which they were going to anyway.
Joke's on that bitch. They were going to do it anyway. Gave
But-
your cocks up for nothing.
And it was very funny because this is because she goes over to see Susan, obviously. And well, but Jack, so here's the joke. So Susan's like, what if it's the other kind of cocks? And she's like, what do you mean? She's like, men with erect penises.
How do you make them crow?
It was very funny. And so she takes the chickens off to
The
Claus.
the roosters.
roosters. The
She already
cocks.
gave him chickens,
That's right.
and he ate them.
He ate it. Well, it was hens, fat hens.
The hens are chickens.
The
aren't
next ones, yeah, hens are chickens.
they? Okay, I was confused for a second.
Nope.
It's like, I'm
Hens
pretty-
are lady chickens, right?
Yeah, and cocks are male chickens.
Oh right, because that. Okay, never mind. I was like
And when you put them together, they make baby chickens.
eggs. They make eggs.
Delicious eggs.
Eggs.
They make delicious children.
Eggs. Eggs.
Okay, so the next one is
The bears.
9 rabbits running.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one.
And so in the Godswood, which her property backs on, there's like an unspoken rule where it's like if you back onto the Godswood, you deal with that section of Godswood, which means she has snares put up already to
Yeah.
catch like livestock. And so basically she just goes and sets all of her snares and then comes back and she collects the rabbits.
Is this where he fucks her with his, and then he pretends that the two of them together?
Is this where she blows him?
No, she tells him one of the things that she wants is that she wants to be with both Klaus and Krampus together, and he gives it to her, but he won't let her.
Yeah, he blindfolds her when he does this.
Oh.
He
And
won't
so
let
he-
her. Won't let her look behind her.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't think he actually blindfolds her. He won't let her look back.
Yeah,
But he rails her. But then he all of a sudden there's two of them.
yeah.
There's a second penis, and it goes in her butt.
So she's like, oh,
And she's like,
and that
oh,
wasn't
there's two of
clear
them.
either.
Well, and that was kind of intentional because you were from her perspective, right? She thinks there's two of them.
No. I mean, where the second penis went wasn't clear.
Oh, in her butt. This is the thing.
I
Okay,
got
will-
Where do you think it was going?
It didn't state.
Because it does, but it does state later on because when they do when he
And it's
just
not
fucks her
butt,
and then
it's bum.
untwists his penises while he's inside of her, that does happen too.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so it's
that
like
happens.
it's like a double wide, if you know what I'm saying. But
Is that a trailer? A double wide?
it is now. Also, yes.
yes.
So,
I live in a
but
double
Ash,
wide.
you are correct in that
Sounds funny.
the author does tiptoe around that. It's not
Which was so weird because it's not like they were tiptoeing around the other fucking sexy times.
right, but what I will say is that they don't use a lot of the terms in this book that you would come across in a lot of normal spicy romance books. I don't think the word cunt appears anywhere in here.
She uses bum a lot.
She uses bum. She uses
Bum to mean like her ass?
Yeah.
Or bum? Okay.
What else would she use? Oh, like a bum.
like a bum.
yeah.
But
No,
they don't
like your vagina.
Why would you call your vagina a bum?
That's what British people do.
do they?
Yeah.
Your front bum?
I didn't know that.
I don't know. It's
You
the
just
first
call it a
time-
fanny.
Did I make that up?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Are you British? Tell us.
I'm not.
James, let us know.
James is
Close enough.
Scottish.
I'm sorry, James. I would never.
I would never. I just did, but let's pretend that I didn't.
For the content. So she gets her rabbits. He rails her, but yes. So he unwinds his penises because
Peni.
well, and so here's the hint, I guess, because when you're reading again, I'm looking so hard at these books when I'm reading them a second time. She mentions that she's like, he fits so much better this time than he did, or he fits so much easier this time, is what she phrased it, because he had already untwined his penises. And so, again, it's this little nuanced thing that I picked up early on where I'm like, his other dick is going in her butt. And
I mean,
so,
it was
So
obvious
there's
that's
not
where it
two
went.
of them.
what?
So there's not.
There was
two
not
of
two
them?
of them
In her vagina cavity.
No, it was
Not this time.
him with his two penises doing the DP.
But he wasn't even there. The other guy.
Claws, correct.
No, correct.
Okay.
And this is where you're starting to be like, huh, okay.
I mean, there's anyway,
They can't be in the same place.
They came to the same place at the same time. It's a thing.
Cramp.
Oh.
So next day we have 10 lambs a bleating.
I prefer bleeding.
Bleating. That's a hard word to say. Bleating.
Oh, yeah, and then they cook the lambs.
So they have she has 10 lambs. So she just
Yeah, because she
Well,
goes to
'cause they were-
John, and she's
and
like,
how old is a lamb?
under a year. She's like, okay, I got
Perfect.
lambs.
I got 10.
What does she do to make them bleat? Tickle them?
No, it's supposed to be lambs because lambs are noise. Like baby sheep are louder than normal sheep. So it's just a colloquialism.
So they're not actually making noises.
I'm sure they
I'm
did.
sure they are, yeah.
Oh.
After they murdered them to have lamb chops.
So they take.
After they murdered
Well,
them,
so-
they're making
but
noises.
here's the
Before
thing.
they murdered. Well, the geese are dead, so whatever.
Undead.
Undead.
So
whatever.
she brings the lambs to Krampus or whatever, and this is to your point. He sits her down and gives her dinner, and he serves lamb chops. But she's like, "Are these the lambs?" He's like, "No," and it's like, "Are they?"
He's also bathed her a couple times.
He
at this
has,
point.
yeah. After they do stuff, usually they have a bath. It's kinda nice. And she falls asleep in the bath, and she wakes up in her bed, and I'm like, "This is lovely."
I would love to not have to
Right?
whatever.
I would love to have a bath. Just that'd be great. My entire fucking tub at home is like this deep. It's bullshit.
My first apartment with my son, I had a clawfoot tub, and it was
Yeah, you did.
glorious.
Jealous. The clawfoot tub, not the sun.
I mean, I wouldn't be
Love you,
jealous
kid.
of that anyway.
Okay, so the next day, which is a big one, is 11 bears a snoring. This one is where the elves come in.
Yeah, horny elves. Oh, yeah, because she had sex with Klaus, and her punishment for something was the elves got to watch.
That was a joke.
What?
That was it was after this. It was the joke of like he was like, "I'm gonna punish you," and the elves get to watch, and she's like, but they're blind.
Why
The
are
elves
they blind?
It's a whole thing, Ash.
The elves didn't get to watch the second time because they get punished. They got punished because they were rude to her.
But I don't think they ever actually watched them do it. I think it was like a joke or something, or like when I say joke, I think it was a threat. I don't think they actually did it.
Because then they were like, "Do you think he'd let us fuck her too?" Like that whole
So
thing.
that was like after, because like they knew what was going on, but
Yeah.
they weren't like.
And then they went and helped her get the bears.
Okay,
And then
so
they said
she
shitty
goes,
things.
So she goes outside, and the sledge is there with the reindeer, and there's like 3 elves or 4 elves. I think there's 4 of them. Anyways, there's a number of elves,
There's 4.
and so they're driving off to this place to get these bears.
They roll up on the cave
They
with
roll
the
up on the
bears.
cave with the bears, and while they're doing this, the elves are making like some very rude remarks to her about being about wanting to fuck her, and like maybe they'll let me fuck her or whatever, or maybe Klaus will let us have a turn, and then
Except for one. One doesn't say anything, and he's driving
the driver.
the sleigh.
Yeah.
The sledge.
The sledge. She makes a comment at one point about like, hey, maybe shut the fuck up. I'm paraphrasing because she never curses. And they're like, well, you're just a fat bitch. Who cares? You fucking fatty, fat. And then she's like, bitches. Like, I'm going to tell your boss. Anyway.
This is quote, word for word, what she says in this book.
Bitches. I'm going to tell your fucking boss. You're gonna,
Bitches.
I'm going to CC Greg on this email.
Fatty, fat. Bitches. Who's Greg?
I just made it up. It's a me. Anyway.
Your boss.
Their boss, Greg. I'm all Greg. So they go.
Greg.
They go off to this cave. The elves have this weird net that like goes over the bears when they're sleeping and doesn't wake them up. And then one of the elves, I think this is actually kind of clever. One of the elves draws a fireplace on the wall.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was funny. He takes out a piece of chalk and just draws one on the wall and then opens the door.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is hilarious.
I like it.
Isn't that great?
It's almost like, how did you get here? I just hopped on a plane.
They just drew a fireplace on the wall. Moseyed on through.
And so they take the bears through whatever. And then the Krampus is there. And she divulges what happened with the elves.
And then he punishes
And then he punishes the shit out of those elves. And he's about to he puts them up over the fire, roasting on the fire, basically.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, what do you want to do? Like, how would you like to punish them? And she's like, I mean, as long as they've learned their lesson, that's fine. And one immediately falls and like runs off. And that's the driver. And then the other 3 are still up there until they learn their lesson, basically.
And he's like, just so you know, one of them is never going to fall down.
Yeah.
She's like, that's okay. That's his choice.
Fine. So the very last day
Jingle bells.
is 12 bells a ringing. And this is just, she like just has bells handy or whatever in her home and just brings them the bells. And then that's the end of it.
That's the end of it. Book's
Well, but
over.
no.
The end.
So here's the conflict.
The end.
So the
The
last
eggnog.
conflict, he brings the bells, whatever bells.
Why did the driver have to like get hung up?
Okay, because he didn't stop them. So if you are a party
He's
you are a party
mute,
too.
Though.
And it wasn't just that they were saying things about her; they touched her.
Yeah, they were touching her inappropriately too.
Yeah, and he's like, the driver didn't touch her inappropriately,
But he didn't stop.
but he
anyone.
didn't stop
Yeah.
them, so that was why he was punished.
Guilty
with
by
the rest of
association.
But maybe he had his eyes on the road. Did he know what was happening?
It was happening in and out of the sledge. Because they also stopped to get out the bears and whatever.
I
They were
fucking
saying
hate
shit.
the word sledge.
I know. Are you sure it's a real
That's
word?
what it's called.
It is. It just keeps making me think about Muck and Grimer. I don't know why for fucking Pokemon. I'm like,
That's weird.
I know.
It's making me think of like sludge.
That's why I think of Muck and Grimer.
That's fair. So now we have to do. So okay.
Sledge Muck.
You're right. Don't fucking be douchebags and just stand by
Oh yeah.
and let
You'll get your chestnuts roasted over an open goddamn
Some-
fire.
kind be harassed.
There's a little bit of victim blaming in there, but like the message is still the same.
So, she recognizes that she has fallen for the Krampus, like in a bad way. They've like done it a couple times, whatever. Like every time she comes back, she like ends up in like fucking him and then like falling asleep in the bath and whatever. And it's really lovely and wholesome. And she's like, but at the same time, he's also like, if you can't accept both of us, like him and Klaus, then you can't have us, sort of thing. And this is also where she like kind of starts piecing together that they're the same person. And so Krampus and Klaus just end up being like mirror images of themselves.
He even admits at one point that he doesn't like the things that he says to her when he's Klaus.
Yeah.
Oh, they share a brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, this isn't like a Buffy the Vampire Slayer thing.
No,
where they're,
and
like, sharing a
it's
body.
interesting because when Klaus talks about Krampus too, he uses we, like when he's talking about himself as well.
When Krampus talks about Klaus, he uses we.
Both of them do.
Oh, I didn't realize
Yeah.
Klaus did. I thought Klaus only just avoided talking about it.
No, well, especially when he was fucking her, I believe he said something like it was. He used the term "we" a couple times, talking about both
So
of them.
does she have to like moan daddies or something? Oh, daddies! Oh, like when they say like, "Oh my gods,"
There you go.
right?
Nailed it. Literally two gods in this instance.
Tonight is the night when two become one.
I need some
Love like I never needed
love
before.
Jesus.
Don't make- It really disturbs me that I remember that.
Gonna make Cumnog for you, baby.
Gross. Oh, disgusting.
I can't believe we just got to bring Spice Girls into this.
We put the Spice Girls into the Queens of Spice. Oh, we're so good.
So good.
So good. High five. Rachel's just like, fuck off.
So proud of you guys.
That was good.
So there's this big kind of like conclusion where,
Reveal.
well, there's the big reveal where they're like the same person.
Shocking.
But she also recognizes that she's fucked. And the reason she's fucked is because
He's got his dick in her.
well, there's that. But this is the day she owes Esther.
Hold up.
What's up, dog?
Is that why he has two dicks? Because it's two people?
I don't think they actually go into that.
No, they don't.
I mean, it would make sense, but
I don't think you ever see. Does she fuck Klaus? I think Klaus only has one dick.
no.
Oh, sorry. It's at the end of this one where she is fucking Klaus on
And
this
she
day.
realizes.
Well, but when she's fucking him and he turns into Krampus in the middle of it.
Sure.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is
It's a big switch thing.
Do you think that's like non-con?
I think if you're consenting to having, well, I mean, I think dubious consent. Because you're consenting to having sex with one person and then they turn into another person. It's just like somophilia, right? Like no matter which way you spin it, whether or not you sign a contract stating you're okay with it, you haven't consented in that moment,
Yeah.
therefore it's dubious consent.
Wait, what are you talking about? The sleeping thing?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
same thing.
Somophilia.
Oh,
That's a good question, Jack.
Good question, Jacqueline.
so rare.
Such a good girl.
Oh.
So, so this is where she's accepted that she's like, well, I can't be with you because, like, she can't accept both of them together, and so off she fucks back to the human realm. And so that morning she's like, damn it, it's like 2:00 in the morning or something, and she's like, I owe Esther this hat, and she's not getting it.
Oh yeah, because he also says she's like, she asks for the hat and he's like, I can't give it to you.
I can't give it to you.
And she's like, even though I'm going to get punished by Esther, and he's like, that's not my problem, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
you
mean-
were a dumb bitch to like agree to give someone my hat.
So she goes and writes all these letters and drops them off to Susan.
Who the fuck is Susan?
Susan's her best friend.
Okay.
Oh my God,
A neighbor.
what was the book with Susan in it before? There was
that
a book.
was a way back.
There was a book with Susan in it before. No, it was the fucking. It was the lizard man. The main character's name was Susan, and we were like, "Who the fuck names a main character Susan?"
How can you love somebody named
Yes,
Susan? Yeah.
that's what it was. I was like, "This is important somehow."
Yeah, Jesus, that's funny.
My brain works in weird ways.
Good for you, Ash. So she goes off and gives these letters to Susan and basically like lamenting about like, I gotta go take care of some shit.
I don't know what's gonna happen, but
Yeah, and then as she's having this conversation with Susan, the ground literally opens up and
gets eaten by the
swallows her
floor.
whole. What? Yeah, and she ends up in Esther's realm. And
Wait, where is she? What opens up?
the floor in Susan's home.
Okay.
She's standing there having this conversation with Susan. The
I
floor
wasn't
opens up.
sure if it was like outside or something.
no, just
No.
like whoop. Nope.
That
And
seems
so-
unlikely to happen in real life.
Yeah, because
Except the whimsy.
eggnog made of eggnog. That's
Cumnog.
You're gonna accept cumnog, but you're not gonna accept.
I am not accepting Cumnog.
Valid point.
I'll have none of
Valid
that.
point. I will pass,
None
please.
of that for me, please.
Also,
Rachel's like,
no smegnog.
I will have 3.
I'll take a double.
Yeah, make it a triple. Fuck me up.
Can we get a round of Cumnog shots over here?
Make me laugh. I'm gonna pee.
Okay.
She's shooting, Rachel. Cumnog.
Okay.
Which of the dicks
okay.
did it come out of? Both.
Yes.
One's
Oh my
eggnog,
God.
one's rum.
I was just gonna say, you think like, oh my god, can we sell Cumnog like as well as Pope juice?
We need to have our own drink menu.
Oh my god, we're opening the bar. Yes.
I love everything about those ideas. Thank you. I
Just-
really appreciate that.
We can serve them at our poutine and pussy palace.
Poutine.
Now that's a throwback.
Amazing. So she lands in Esther's realm, and Esther's like, "You done fucked up. Where's the hat?" And she's like, "I don't have it. I'm not gonna get it. Like he won't give it to me." And she's like, "Well, you're gonna have to stay in this realm forever then, and you're gonna become my slave and whatever, and or servant, I guess is what they phrase it."
Broodmare.
Broodmare. And then Klaus rolls up, as one does.
Poof.
Wheelie
Actually-
sneakers.
Although. Amazing. I love this.
No shirt, pants, Santa Claus.
He
hat.
doesn't. He never wears a shirt. No.
I know.
He wears the pants with the suspenders and the hat, and he's like
Wheelie
buff
sneakers. And wheelie sneakers.
and wheelie sneakers.
I feel like
They're
they're like
boots though. They're really boots.
Wheelie boots, whatever.
Kind of like Christmas trees, and they light up.
Oh my
And
God,
they're
we
Oh, they
just
definitely
standard,
light
like,
up.
Boop, boop, boop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love this idea. Okay, so he rolls up, and this like a garland of holly shows up, and he like bam right through it.
Jazz hands.
And he's like, "Yo, ma, what up? We're gonna make a deal, a
Again.
new deal."
Exactly, word for word, what's happening in the book.
I'm not even paraphrasing.
Yo, ma.
Yo, mama.
Yo, ma.
So
Yo, ma.
So he's like, Esther, you're making a new deal with me. Like how, like you need to relinquish her to my like person, basically. And Esther's like, all right, well, I need a grandkid because her kid or her grandchild, which is the Easter Bunny's son, I believe it is.
Scissors.
Caesarin, I believe is his name.
Okay, so that is a character.
Caesarin, yeah.
That's a character from before.
This is the timey-wimey thing, Ash. It's so weird.
Because that's where I was like, who the fuck is this? And why did he
here's
die?
the thing, because even in oh gosh, because Caesarin is one of her grandchildren who was ruling the human realm, basically.
Yeah, he lived
or
in
was
the tower.
protecting the human realm. Yeah,
And he was sad and lonely.
he was sad and lonely, and so he wanted to perish. And the only way a godchild can perish is by accepting, or is by making a wish. And another god has to fulfill it. So on Christmas Eve, he asked for this to end his life.
From Krampus.
And Krampus signed
Uncle
it.
Krampus.
Uncle Krampus went in and did that for him. He
Good job,
offered his deal.
Krampus.
And so Esther's pissed at Krampus because of that, obviously. And this is why she's like, fuck you, Holly.
Yeah, well,
Because the gods are fickle creatures.
it's made.
Yep. Anyway. So
made?
Medically assisted
medical
death.
assisted death.
Oh.
We're in Canada. That's the thing we do. So she makes a new deal with Klaus, Krampus, and instead of giving her his hat, because if he gave up the hat, there would be no more Christmas. And so Esther was hoping that he would give up his calling in life for this woman, and he refused to do that because it brings too much joy to people in the world.
Because he's not a dickhole.
Because he's not actually a dickhole. So what Esther is like, well, I need a new grandchild then, because someone has to rule this valley, and it's going to be the next the godchild, because they have to be half human, half god in order to rule the valley. And she's like, what you're gonna do is you're gonna give me a grandchild then.
And then Klaus is like, no, Esther's not, because she doesn't want to have babies. Fuck off,
Yeah,
mama.
Holly's like, I will never have children. I'm just not doing that. And
Did
then
I say
Esther's
Esther?
like,
Let's call Susan.
but so this is
Susan!
so this
But he also
is
slept
where
with the clocks.
okay, we're coming up to that.
Okay.
So this is the deal: is that to make up for Holly's deal that she didn't break, he gives Esther the cuckoo clocks back, and because the cuckoo clocks are something she needs to put back together.
It had to do with the first deal, the deal that was made with the first godchild's parent, like whoever that was. I don't know.
I don't honestly. It doesn't come up in any of the books so far. I don't think they may have touched on it briefly.
I just
somewhere,
remember that was what was said.
It was. Anyways, it's another one that I'm like, I hope that susses out somewhere else. And because I mean, again, with the timey-wimey, they jump back and forth a lot in time of like old stuff to new stuff, and anyway, it's all kind of everywhere.
And like one of the things that they got, one of the things that she had to give him, he went and like fucked with his brother, the Easter Bunny. By fucked, I mean like
there was actual rabbits. Yeah.
Yeah. He just like released them, and it wasn't
them,
like he didn't have sex with his brother, but he was like, sometimes I just like screwing with my brother.
Well, and so all of these, so he got the rest. This is where you find out he got the rest of the cuckoo clocks by making deals.
Yeah.
From the things that she brought him.
5 and 20.
Because there was thanks Ash.
I'm just saying.
So he traded and bargained with the rest of the gods who wanted their things back and all this other stuff. And so he got the rest of the cuckoo clocks, knowing that he was going to make this deal with Esther. And
5 and 20.
5 and 20.
Not to be confused with 420.
Esther wants a grandchild though, and Holly doesn't want to carry a grandchild. She's like, okay, go make a grandkid and I'll take care of it. And she's like, okay. This is where the unconventional family planning comes in. Because
and this part confused me too.
So they go off and like do the dirty. It becomes pregnant, and then Esther takes out her uterus and puts it in a tree because she's the god and she can do that. And then the kid grows in the tree. And then 9 months later they have a kid.
She's like, it's gonna just show up in your garden.
Yeah, she's like, it's gonna show up in your garden.
And then she's like, shit, she probably plant some cabbage.
Yeah, I don't know what the cabbage is about. That's weird. I think it's Cabbage Patch Kids. I think it's like a joke or something.
I have no
There's something,
idea.
I think this is an old god lore bullshit thing that I don't know about.
You would know way more about this than I would.
Anyway.
The baby needs some comfort.
They even made like a thing with like deliver it by stork. Like they went through a whole list of things on how you could get the kid.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff in there that like I'm sure these are Easter eggs for something and I don't understand it.
Or it's
so,
just mocking like what we used to tell our kids.
Potentially. Oh, definitely that. Yeah. But
the stork brings babies.
They came from somewhere, right? Those stories. So one day she's out tending the garden or whatever, and she hears a cry. And she comes out, and there's a kid hanging out in the garden. A little baby. And so she takes the baby, and she goes off to see Krampus. So they actually have, like, a proper relationship. And also, she is manning the tower, as it were. Like, so she's dealing with the day-to-day.
That's her job.
Yeah, her job. She's dealing with the day-to-day stuff until the kid is old enough to take over to that, which I think is age 25 or something.
Holly is?
Holly is,
okay.
Yeah. So it's like, anyway. And that's basically, like, where the story ends. Everyone's happy and whatever.
The end.
The end. Finished. Jacqueline, can I should read something?
Sure.
Please tell me it involves eggnog.
Oh, it might.
So did she want to have a baby? She just didn't want to carry the baby?
Yes.
Yeah. So again, this comes back again to the like no one is there for the mother
right
thing.
Right.
And so like she does not want to have children because she worries that nobody will be there for her, and so she could just die and then that's it. And again, because she lost both of her parents, and she doesn't want that for anybody else.
Fair.
So there's a lot of like back end trauma going on here, I would say.
Trauma.
Okay, Jack, I'm going to read this.
You won't say you're mine, little Barry, but you'll give yourself to us freely. He nips at my chin. We'll never be satisfied with alone. You have a few days left to convince me. He growls, low in his chest, and with a push and a shove, he moves me all the way up his body and crushes my pussy down to his mouth. His tongue invades me so suddenly I can't even make a noise against the shock. He fucks me with his tongue, holding me down in a way that makes me scared he'd asphyxiate if he wasn't a god. The forked tip twists and tweaks at my clit, and the concentrated effort of his mouth makes me scream out against him. His hands grip my thighs, fighting the tension that would have made me crush his head. As I come so hard, I'm no longer worried about suffocating him. Now I'm rather concerned he might drown, but he draws me back down him, laughing the entire time. Licking his lips, his eyes meet mine as he pulls me right onto his cock. It's easier than last time. I'd almost accuse him of not playing fairly, but I enjoyed that far too much to complain. When he kisses me, I taste myself on him. I love giving you gifts, I say as I lever myself up onto my hands. I think it's time for another. I rock my hips, taking him further into me, and he smiles at me with a long and lazy blink. And we love receiving, but we think it's time for a joint gift. What kind of... Pressure behind me kills the question in my throat, and I freeze on him, and my eyes go wide as I try to turn back to see whose cock has just pressed against me. But the Krampus catches my chin in his hand and makes me meet his eyes again. You don't get to turn around. Can you do that, little Barry? Can you accept a gift without knowing exactly what it will be? That's enough to tell me I won't see Klaus if I turn around right now. I should cry off, or at least tell him we need to negotiate this, but I trust you, even if I shouldn't. He smiles at me, and then his tongue snakes down me, sliding between our bodies until it curls up and saliva pours across me. That rush threatens to drag me under, and then his tongue drags up my body, and his hands take my hips, tipping me back onto that other cock. If you could see your face, sweet little Barry. Krampus sighs and brushes his thumb over my cheekbone. You are all lust, aren't you? It suddenly no longer matters who is behind me. I am nothing but lust for him. I can't be his, but for the moment I can pretend. I can pretend that I don't have to go back to the mortal world when this is all over. That I could let go of everything tethering me to that place and be the pet he wants. It would be so easy. I work that fantasy into myself with each rise and fall of my hips, and somehow I want more. My mouth falls open, wanting, needing. You can't have 3, he says, reaching up to draw his thumb across my lips, but he doesn't let me catch it between them. But maybe I can give you something else to suck. His tail draws along the line of my lips, and I don't pause to think about it. I open my mouth and let him in. I lose myself in the way he fills me. Every fiber of my being is focused on the points where he and I meet, to where we combine. I've never wanted to be possessed by someone, but that's how this feels. And I know I'm going to crave it for the rest of my life. I feel him on every inch of me, in every inch of me, when I come, and for a moment, it feels like all I am is points of light and pleasure. His tail pulls free of my mouth, and I draw in a long breath, finally able to think again. I've certainly never come apart like that before. Sloppy. That thought makes my rhythm hitch, and I slow my hips, relishing the aftershocks. You've made a mess, he says, drawing his hand through the wetness that has soaked us both. We made a mess. I am not taking any of the blame for this. I swipe up some of that eggnog cum and lick it from my finger. Yes, that was definitely us. Dragging me down, he licks the last of it from my lips and tilts me forward until both cocks slide out of me with a gush. I slump to the cushion beside him, and Krampus pulls that blanket back over me, but it's for the warmth, not modesty. There's no one else with us. I might have thought they'd vanished, but then I see his cocks twist back together. It was just you? It's never just me. He traces his tongue over my lips. But yes, this was well within our power, and we happily gave it to you.
Thanks for that, Jack.
Yeah.
2 penises. Two penises and a tail.
She read that way more smoothly than I was expecting her to.
And a tail.
And a tail. Because why not?
Why not?
So,
Why choose?
Why choose?
Why choose?
We don't know how big his feet are.
No judgment. So I guess we got to rate this book.
Eggnog?
I mean, we can't rate an eggnog. You hate eggnog. That's
That's
not fair.
fair.
Both of you hate eggnog.
Yeah.
I'm an eggnog goddamn fiend. Give me all the eggnog. Put cinnamon on it. I will just absorb it. Eggnog latte is my favorite thing on planet Earth. However, I recognize that you guys aren't into eggnog, and so I don't want to make you drink the eggnog. So,
Smegnog.
let's rate it on 8 cocks a crowing. I would like to rate this book 6 cocks of crowing. And I say that because this book is weird. This book is off-putting. And
it has the cum feeding that Rachel loves.
it has eggnog cum, which I'm a big fan of. And they describe a lot of cinnamon flavored things, which I'm really into.
Dear men, please drink more eggnog to make Rachel happy when she drinks you down.
More cinnamon, that's fine too. I love cinnamon.
Spicy cum.
Spicy cum. Yeah, I mean, this book is just fucking weird. And, like, this series is weird. And as much as I recognize that there's some the author could definitely do better, for sure. Like, no, just, like, explaining things better.
Do better.
No, but just, like, there was definitely some spots, like, to your point, Ash, like, there's stuff that could have been explained better, could have been clearer.
Yeah.
Reading it the second time through, I pieced together a lot more stuff than I did the first time.
This was like Tidal Wave. I had the
where
same
they leave
issue.
The blanks.
Yeah, like I had the same issue. And for me, you shouldn't have to read a book twice
That's
in order
fair.
for it to make sense.
But like a ninth house was like that too, where it's like, which not a spicy book really, but you had to puzzle some shit out in order to read that book.
I reserve my judgment on that one. But like, I feel like with Ninth House, based on what I know of Leah Bardugo, is the writing is at least like,
the writing's very
the
good.
writing is coherent.
Yeah.
So like it's plot devices that create that inconsistency or that like meandering of information, whereas this was just like the way it was written did not make sense. Same with Tidal Wave. It's like the way it was written. What is happening? Who's rubbing lotion where? Why are they on iceberg? I don't understand.
Iceberg straight ahead.
Why is there a fucking tidal wave? Why are you looking at tidal waves? I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, and again, like, I don't know. I give more grace to authors, perhaps, just of like you get in your head about stuff, and I don't want to like justify it, of course, but it doesn't bother me nearly as much as it bothers you, I think. In that, like, if I have to make leaps and bounds and like fill in blanks for myself, I'm okay with that a lot of the time. Like, I almost prefer that. Cause like, for example, like a book I read like ages ago, and this is like, I always bring it up when I'm talking about books that were adapted from books to movies. I always bring up Fight Club, because Fight Club was written like, read Fight Club if no reason to just experience that book, because it makes no fucking sense whatsoever. But and every time I read that book and I watched the movie, I'm like, how did they get here? This is like Chuck Palahniuk is a great author, but I'm also like, you're fucking crazy. Like the way he writes, I'm just like, you're batshit insane. Do people make sense of this? Like,
But I haven't read it, so this is a genuine question.
Bonkers book.
But is Fight Club purposely written to be confusing based on the content?
I really don't know. I honestly can't like. I honestly can't answer that question.
Yes.
It wouldn't surprise me if that was the case, but like Chuck Palahniuk, like a lot of his books are fucking off the rails.
Yeah.
And so like it's not out of the realm for him to have written that in the way he wrote it.
Yeah.
It's very much fits in with a lot of the other stuff that he's written. And like purposefully he leaves weird shit out, but he takes you down all these weird paths and stuff like this that like really misdirect you and that kind of shit. And so you need to puzzle it together like it's a trap room almost that you're going through. And you're like, how the fuck is this all coming together? Like, it's just wild to read it all. So watching the movie of that was like mind-blowing, because I'm like, holy shit, you made sense of all of this. It's crazy. And so like, I really enjoy reading those kind of weird books where I'm like, yeah, take me down a fucking path and get me lost, because like, I want to puzzle this out a little bit, and I'm perfectly okay with that.
So it's funny to me because you read the weird
I do read the weird
to dissociate.
Yeah.
Whereas like I read, and then comes down to the different kinds of readers, right? Where I read the emotional, which you avoid because you read weird to dissociate. Where I read the emotional
to feel things.
No, because like that to me would make me dissociate. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like we're doing the opposite things and we're reading the. Did you see? Am I making sense? Because
I think so.
That thought process made a lot more sense before I started coming out of my mouth. Like my brain shut down halfway through talking there.
Like eggnog coming out of your mouth.
So are you thinking like you have the same reaction, but Rachel wants to dissociate and you do not.
We read for the same reason, but we're reading different things. Like, I read the emotional to dissociate from, like, weirdness.
You want to feel someone else's emotions, not your own. Yeah.
Whereas Rachel's like, I don't want to feel anything.
I don't feel
I'm going to read the
shit.
weird things.
Fuck me up and take me on a path.
Okay.
So she reads, like, the fucked up shit because it makes her brain do the thing. Whereas I read the emotional shit because it makes my brain do the thing. But our brains are doing similar things. It's just for different reasons.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, her dissociation and my dissociation are similar, but with different content.
So what we're saying is, like, this book is like my vibe.
Yeah.
This book is my vibe. And so, like, yeah, the author could have done better, but, like, I'm giving that a solid 6 because I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the world building. I enjoy the weird god shit that's going on. I just, like, I wish I could rate this book higher, but I just, like, in good conscience can't because the author, like, the writing's okay. The spice was, like, okay. Like, it was whatever. It is, the book is what it is, but it's also kind of fucking strange.
Yeah.
And I'm really into strange books. So that is what I'll say about that. And I'll leave it at that one.
I like that.
So Jack, how did you feel about reading Two Dicks? Two Dicks, One Butt.
Hilarious. I was interested in, like, the tail thing.
That's the only time the tail comes up too.
Of course she was interested in the tail.
Who isn't?
Like, I wonder if it's like a third penis kind of situation.
It is a pointy tail.
But like for him, like the feeling, like, is it like the feeling of her sucking one of his penises, or is it
like in
sucking
Titan?
his
I don't think it's like.
toe
I think it's
or
more.
ear?
I think it's more of an erotic thing. I don't know that it's like a sensation thing.
I think it's more for her than for him.
Yes.
Okay.
She needs all her holes filled.
Right. He did like offer it to her.
Yeah, and she did gobble that shit up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
With
see.
the eggnog.
Yeah.
I
Also,
mean,
tail. I'm kind of glad they didn't go like tail penetration because that always irks me a little bit because I'm like, that tail drags around on the ground.
I love how tail penetration is where she draws a line.
Listen, it doesn't, but it does because I get my head about it. But it doesn't because it's fucking hot. But at the same time, you're like, oh, come on. Who doesn't like an extra appendage?
I get that, like, the tail's dragging around, and that's kind of disturbing and gross. But what about the smegma penises?
Listen, you're
The
not.
smegnog, like,
I can appreciate what you're going with that, but it's just not going to deterrent for me. I'm sorry.
As
I
long
love
as
eggnog.
it tastes like eggnog, Rachel's down.
Eggnog with cinnamon, a little
Splat.
bit of rum, and 2 dicks. Fucking Merry Christmas to Rachel.
It's like one of those. It's like one of those fucking
no
shots with the
Yes,
partition. in the
It's
middle.
a twisted shot. Yeah.
Rachel's like, yeah, sure.
Sign me up.
amazing.
Down the hatch. Nom nom nom.
Nom nom nom.
So what you rating it out of 8? 8 cocks a crowing.
I think I'll rate it 3.
Okay.
What's that? The 3 fat hens.
3 fat hens. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a 3, 2, 2.6 or something like that.
So
I
like
think
3 fat hens and maybe like 1 or 2 calling birds.
Or maybe a turtle dove
Calling birds are the cuckoo clocks. It's like 1 cuckoo clock.
or a turtle dove.
I don't know. Maybe, I mean, I do appreciate the twisty penis that it kind of looks like a unicorn horn. And, I mean, but just because I don't enjoy eggnog myself, I appreciate that it's like an entire beverage that you're receiving at the end of such playful time.
It's like a little treat.
It's like a little treat at the end. Like, I might prefer like a frozen hot chocolate if I could get one of those dick combos or whatever.
It's legit.
But I did find, like,
You did a good job. Here's some hot chocolate.
not hot, cold.
Cold chocolate. Then that's just
Frozen hot chocolate.
That's just chocolate.
No. It's different. Yeah, believe me, Ash.
It's different. And
They have it as a second cup. It's really
second cup, it's fucking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But you know where else they have it? Dairy Queen.
good. Shut up.
Yes, and
That's
it is
new.
real good.
Ooh, nice.
Anyways, yeah. So the part that I read, it was kind of. I feel like I know what Ashton means about, or like the sentence structure. Like I could read the words, but they weren't like. It didn't seem like that they were in the right orders necessarily.
No, totally. Like that's fair.
Yeah.
It is a writing style and it's a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
So
I listen,
3?
if I listened to it, I might have had a different
Oh
opinion.
yeah, I wonder. I was gonna say, I don't think I've ever come across an audiobook for this one. So
I think I'll give it the 3 Fat Hens.
okay, what do you got, Ash?
Wait,
What's up?
one of the dead swan, undead birds.
Okay, one of the undead
Goose,
swans.
geese, whatever it was.
3 fat hens and a dead goose, or 2 fat hens and a dead goose? Swan.
3 fat hens and the
Dead swan.
and the undead thing.
Perfect.
Swan.
Thanks, Chaim.
Swan.
Ash. What do you got, buddy? Honest to goodness, what do you got?
I liked the whimsy. I wanted to like it more. I really did want to like it more.
It's interesting because I really hoped that you would be on about, like, I kind of knew in my heart of hearts you were not going to like this book, but I knew you would be into, like, the weird whimsy shit.
I struggled because there were parts of it I'm like, if this was done better, I would have liked it. If I understood better. And, like, I don't like books that make me feel stupid when I read them.
Okay.
So when I have to read a thing over and over and over again, it makes me feel like I'm an idiot because I don't understand.
Okay.
And I don't like that, and it immediately turns me off. Which is why I think I like listening to it better, because it's almost like it's just filtering through and like somebody else. Do you know what I mean? It's a different way of processing the information.
Okay. Yeah.
That makes sense.
I mean, some people are auditory learners and some people are visual learners. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's totally a thing.
So,
especially in something that, like, is a little bit hard to comprehend to begin with. Like, just the nature of it.
you know what though? But the god shit, like I read through American Gods, which is arguably just as convoluted in a way with like the information, the way that it's presented and like trying to keep things like a secret and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But it made sense.
Yeah.
But I like the way that Neil Gaiman writes.
Yeah.
So there's that. And like the God stuff, I feel like I'm used to it enough that it wouldn't have thrown me off if it were written in a different way. And I feel like an asshole saying that, but I don't know. What was it? 8 cocks?
Yeah, 8 cocks.
I'm going to go with probably 3, 4. Like,
what were the cocks doing again?
Crowing. Yeah.
But like, mine are mute.
Your cocks ain't crowing?
My cocks ain't making no noise. So,
silent croc. Silent cocks only.
Yeah.
Or mute crocs.
Crocs or shoes.
Crocs
or
don't.
alligators.
No, that's reasonable.
Alligators?
Crocodiles.
See you in a while.
Crocodile.
4 mute cocks.
Yeah.
3
4 mute.
3?
3 or 4. 3.5.
3.75.
Like ones.
Oh, 3 mute ones and one that can like say little things.
1 lame clock.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate your input. Speaking of appreciation, I want to appreciate a book by R.K. Pierce. It's called Monstrosity. I don't think I ever told you about this book, Ash. This will be a new one. Rowan's entire existence is a joke. But there's nothing funny about being the only human monster hybrid in existence. Neither race wants anything to do with him, and he's cursed to a life of exile, utterly alone for all eternity. That is, until fate finally works in his favor. Crew is running away from a life that he never deserved, and has enough inner demons to form an army. When he's injured in the woods, hundreds of miles away from the nearest city, the last thing he expects is to be saved by a beast, a gentle beast at that. Could their chance meeting be exactly what they never knew they needed? Or will they wind up tearing each other apart? How fun. So Monstrosity is it's a story about dude's like kind of half demon almost. Like he's got like the big kind of horns and he's got the tail and he's almost like almost like a satyr but like a really big one. Where he's got like kind of the hoof feet and stuff like this. And so he's like half human, half monster hybrid. His mother was a human. And he's basically like alone in the woods and has nobody. And has been kind of like that for, a number of years. His mother passed away when he was like 7 or 8 or something.
He's sad.
Yeah, I mean, he's just like a sad boy that's like he's grown up trying to look out for himself and he's done really well in that. And he lives off the grid, obviously. And the humans like exiled him and his mother when he was quite young. So like he knows about the human races, he speaks English, all that stuff. But like he stays far away from them. And Crew, he like got out of this really horrible relationship. And he kind of just ran away, like literally ran away from society almost, like shut himself off, left. He was like backpacking across the country from like, I think it was San Francisco to like Massachusetts or something, like literally
Yikes.
across. Yeah, it was very far.
That's up and down and across the country.
Yeah, and then like, and so he even mentions at one point that he's like, he doesn't even go on social media anymore. Like when he feels like charging his phone, he does. Like it's very much, he like goes off the reservation. And so he ends up like injuring himself on one of his hikes one day, and he gets caught in a bear trap basically.
Oof.
Yeah, it's real bad. And so Rowan ends up saving him, but he's like, it's one of those situations where he's like, this is a bad idea. This is such a bad idea. As he's like taking him home, and he's like, this is a bad idea. This is a bad idea. Putting him on the bed. This is a bad idea. Fixing his leg. This is a bad idea. You know, one of those things where
That's
he's
cute.
like, it's super adorable. It's a really, it's kind of a short read. It's like something like 150, 160 pages. And like there's such different characters, and like Rowan obviously doesn't really trust a lot of people, but also there's something about this guy. It's almost like a fated mate situation where it's like he's so drawn to him, and just like he wants to look after him. And but of course Crew is like, what the fuck, because monsters don't exist in this world. And he's like, what is going on? Like, well, who is this guy? And he like tries to attack him and get free. And Rowan's of course just like, that's hilarious, I could just eat you in 2 seconds if I wanted to. So but they're such like, they're very, very down to earth characters that have like these kind of tragic backstories that come together like by fate, as I said in the intro. And it's just like, oh, it's just so adorable. I love them. And it's, you know, an MM romance, which I can always get behind. But yeah, that's Monstrosity by R.K. Pierce, and I highly recommend that one. Just on Kindle.
Adorable.
Is super adorable.
I would read that one.
Asked you if it's something adorable to talk about.
Yes.
Amazing.
Oh my god, so cute.
What do you got?
Oh my god.
I love when you get so excited.
Oh, so because I read Red, White, and Royal Blue, and then I watched Red, White, and Royal Blue, and I was still am obsessed with Red, White, and Royal Blue.
Were you going through withdrawal maybe?
Well, I found something that was touted at being like similar, so I was like, I'll give it a shot. And it was on Kindle Unlimited. So it's called The Unlikely Heir by Jax Calder, and I fucking lived for the main character, one of the main characters in this. His name is Callum Prescott, and he's on a date in the beginning of the book, and he's already spilt red wine all over his date, and he's scrambling, and he's thinking about like how his friends always tell him how it's a good thing that he's so good looking because he's so fucking annoying. And he has this habit, he's thinking about like prom, when his prom date kind of ditched him because he kept spouting off random facts about the Titanic, and she ditched him for somebody else. And
That's
so
adorable.
right, it's so I'm like, oh my god, ADHD. So
Info dumping is a love language,
yes,
by the by.
so, and I do it repeatedly as
You
Rachel,
hear that, bucket nuts?
as Rachel's like stares me down as I go on and on and on and on and on about books. So he's on this date, and this guy shows up, and he's like, Callum Prescott, and he's like, yeah, and he's like, the guy's like, I need you to come with me, I need to talk to you. And he's like, no, there's a van outside and it's all blacked out, and I've seen that movie, I am not going with you.
That's the right answer.
And he's like, you can talk to me right here. And he goes, no. He's like, blah, 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 whatever. Anyway, he's like, I'm so-and-so from the American branch of Scotland Yard. And the girl's like, what are you, like, next in line for the throne? He's like, I'm 11th, actually. And the guy,
Actually?
yeah. And he's like super Californian, like all American guy. Like he works in like insurance. He's dropped out of
Does he do beach?
Yes.
Yeah.
So he dropped out of university because like he's always like picking up random things, and his whole thing is like his friends are like, you don't stick to anything. Anyway, so the guy-
ADHD.
Hey,
Yeah.
I feel called
ADHD.
out.
So buddy from Scotland Yard is like, actually, because he's there to make sure he's safe, and he's like, okay, whatever. All of his aunts, his father was the youngest prince born to the queen, and all of his aunts and uncles and his cousins have been caught up in a bribery scandal, and they have to abdicate. So he is the next in line for the throne.
Even though he's 11?
And all of them
Amazing.
all of them get fucked up. So he's one main character, and then the other main character is Oliver Hartwell, who is the Prime Minister of the UK. And
Yeah, he is.
yeah, he is. And he's a little bit older, and he's even states that he's like anti-monarchy in the beginning. Like he was like that outspoken. He's like the first gay prime minister, and like da-da-da-da. And like Callum's just like, whatevs. Like it doesn't state his sexuality in any capacity, and he eventually realizes he's bi, whatever. And he struggles, and Oliver realizes that he struggles, and so he gives Callum his cell phone number so that they can like talk, and he's just being kind of a support, because the big thing is that there's not supposed to be any kind, like the monarchy needs to be
church and state kind of separation.
unbiased.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's monarchy and state. Yeah.
So you can't do that.
Yeah.
And
You cannot fraternize.
nope. And so like,
fraternize they shall.
yep. And like, it's really cute, and like, it's just
Is it a similar vibe to Red, White, and Royal Blue? Like that kind of like the
ish.
tone?
Red, White, and Royal Blue was more like quippy and like had a lot more like banter. This one doesn't have as much banter, but the storyline was no storyline. It was like the intrigue in this was pretty on par. And like Callum struggles because he's the oldest, but his father, after his parents got divorced, had 2 more kids. It's really cute because he's like stumbling his way through all of these things, and there's all these like news articles being put out about him because he's like
a celebrity overnight.
He gets
and it's
attacked.
a big scandal. So yeah.
He gets attacked by a goose, or like, or not a goose. There's this thing.
Fucking ganders.
It's swans actually. So he's like,
stop looking at me, swan.
He's at this animal enclosure, and he's like, they're like, oh, this is the swan, and blah 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 blah, and they don't realize the swans have procreated because they're like swans that have been damaged or like injured and they can't be released in the wild. And this one swan doesn't like any other swans that they put in with him, and he starts to back up because it's a fucking swan. Of course you do, and
run, dude.
the swan like goes after him because there's a nest, and they didn't know that there was a nest. So there's always these like
weird events.
Yeah, and like he like falls over things or falls into things or breaks things or so on and so forth. But he has all this random information because he like obsesses, and so he's able to talk to people, and that's what he's really good at, is talking to people. And his whole thing is like he's never stuck to anything, so he wants to help his grandmother for one, but he also wants to prove to people that he can stick to things. And there's a really, really cute prank. There's one guy who's like massacring him on Twitter. So Oliver who's doing this whole thing about cyberbullying, takes Callum to this guy's house and is like, do you see where this guy lives? Like, this is the guy that like, and then they walk up and they like give him shit. And then they're like, nah, just kidding. The Prince of Wales and the Prime Minister would never actually show up on your doorstep. We're just hired actors. It's so fucking cute.
That's adorable.
It's so adorable. And then of course they struggle. They kiss. They struggle. Like, oh, but we can't because there's so many reasons that they can't. But he's like,
taboo.
yeah. And like poor Oliver has like the ex and Garrett who cheated on him, and Oliver wears these dog tags, and Garrett sees that Callum's wearing the dog tags, and he's like, you wouldn't even. Anyway, it's just, there's so many things that I was like, this is so wholesome and so sweet, and I love it so much. Anyway, that was The Unlikely Heir by Jax Calder. Thank you for writing that. It was delightful.
Thanks for sharing, Ash. That sounds great.
It's so good. It was so
Nice.
cute.
Good follow up.
Love it.
Jack, have you been consuming anything over there?
Not eggnog.
Not eggnog. Definitely not.
I hear you're not into eggnog.
I've been getting back into listening to a lot of West Memphis 3 podcasts.
What's that?
So I think it was 1993. These 3 little boys that were 8 years old were like pretty brutally murdered in West Memphis, Arkansas. And these 3 teenage boys were convicted without like
a proper trial and all that, or investigation.
There was like a proper trial, but one of the guys like confessed, and some people believe it was like a false confession, and there wasn't really any physical evidence tying to them to the crime, but there might be some like DNA that ties like other people to it. And so it's kind of like a lot of people are divided on whether they're innocent or not. They're out of jail now because they took alpha pleas, which is basically you agree to plead guilty but maintain your innocence, but like the you are basically acknowledging that the prosecution has enough to convict you.
Okay,
or
yeah.
whatever.
Sounds like some bullshit.
Yeah, so it's very interesting though. And I feel like I'm on team they didn't do it,
Mm-hmm.
but to be determined, I guess.
Gotcha.
We'll ask you next time.
Yeah, I'll ask you next time and see where you're at with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing, Jack. Speaking of Jack sharing, next time we're back, we're reading a very special book for Jacqueline's birthday.
And we're mixing things up a bit.
Yeah, so Jack and I read this book. It's called A Little's Unicorn, a stuffy hospital romance. Ashton, please chill. It'll be fine. So we'll it's available on Kindle Unlimited, and we'll talk about that next time. Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Unicorns.
Thanks for listening to the Queens of Spice podcast. You'll find us on Instagram and Twitter at Queens of Spice. Or if you want to send us an email, you can reach us at queensofspice@gmail.com.